Post computer. Hello, Chris Evans TV. We are back with little Dave post Olympia. How was your trip, man?
Dude, it was fantastic.
I'm so had so much fun like that I didn't go with you.
It was fun being there in the at the at the show, watching all the Olympians, meeting some of them. It's always super motivating seeing people at the top level do their thing. Like I was really lucky on Thursday. I got to see Krizo and Hassan both training, and it's just crazy seeing the levels there are to the sport. You got like two almost, both of them are Olympian level athletes,
Yep.
and it's honestly, we go on a tangent about this, but seeing how far developed they are, it's just like absolutely crazy the human body can even do that. That makes me laugh because I was reading comments on actually I think it was Buys and Tries on the Olympia winner for what's his Derek winning.
Yeah.
How many people were like, there was one comment was like, so should everybody outside of top six retire? Someone said that and is like, do you realize like how stupid that sounds?
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, they should retire because they're not top six. It's
Right.
like, you're so fucking stupid.
Of all the people that bodybuild, you're the sixth or seventh best in the world.
Yeah.
If in any other sport or realm, like your job, if I was the sixth best nutritionist on the planet, bro, I would be jumping for joy.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things. It's like you realize that they are the top of their craft.
Correct. Yeah. I remember the first time I saw Phil Heath in person, I was like, I cannot believe a human can look like this.
Dude, he's still his arms are still ridiculous. It's wild.
Sure. Yeah. I saw a picture of him, or maybe it's a video, and I was like, you're still enormous.
Yeah, he's still definitely a big dude.
Yeah. I mean, I can say it's been a blast watching it from home. I'm sure being there was super electric and fun, and
Yeah.
so much craziness happening, like Missy blowing her knee out, Chris repeating, Clarita getting dethroned, and then Hottie walking off stage with Derek winning. Like it was an eventful, like the judges.
It was very eventful.
The judges are, I think, pretty much been the same dude since I've been around bodybuilding for the most part. And they're classically known of, you got to knock the champ out, or, they're going to give the nod to the previous winner, and they're just not doing that. Like, you have to win. And I mean, I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, at least, is like that to me should be exciting for everyone, because I mean, I'm sure you saw the same thing I did. If Samson shows up peeled, he wins.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Like, no one's beating him. If on the flip side of that, if Hottie's glutes are like they've been in 2019, doesn't he blow the doors off of everyone? Like from the front, that photo I sent you of him from the front was fucking stupid. Like,
dude, Derek from the back was obscene.
Okay,
when he turned around, that was just like, what the hell is this?
Let me ask you this. Didn't his glutes remind you of Flex Lewis?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I mean, they're just stripped out of fucking granite. Like,
yeah, there's nothing left on those things other than muscle.
No. I mean, it was wild to see his, like, those, that back double, back lat spread, back relax, front double, front relax. Like, that combo of 5 shots, 6 shots was just crazy. I mean, I know a bunch of people ripped him from the side, but man, I thought he was improved, especially lower body from the side.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know. I mean, I try to reserve judgment since I wasn't there in person, and everyone says that's different, but
oh, dude, it's crazy how different. Like, there was a couple times where I could see the live stream being on the screen,
right,
and the person in front of me,
right,
and they're two different people.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like, Keon on the screen looks more peeled than he does. He looks softer in person, which is weird.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then, like, most of the time, you think that would be backwards. I don't know why that is.
Right.
But like he was in shape, but like he could have been in better condition. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But he looked in better condition on screen, but in person, not as much.
Right.
But all amazing shape as always. But it's just funny how that doesn't correlate. Right. People always like, oh, you see something on screen. It's like you should see that in person, because like there's things what the camera doesn't pick up, the little muscle fibers you see.
Yeah.
All the little things.
I can tell you this, right? Like every show I've been to, I very rarely see photos that aren't edited that look as show you as crisp as when you are in real life. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
Very
yeah.
rarely. Now, like those Walt Whitman shits, like where they're fucking filtered to 100.
Everybody looks good, and I mean that's my profile pic, anyways.
Right.
It's just that you're gonna look good if it says Walt Whitman. It's how it goes.
But
it captures moments and makes them look good.
Yes, because I mean, if you go on NPC online, like you'll be like, man, was I even in shape? Like, I needed 6 more weeks of diet. Like some shots when they catch you like out of poses and it's like a weird angle, and you're like, I remember just being like,
I feel like I must have pissed off the camera guy for the NPC because every photo shoot I get, I look like I'm like here to go to here, but I'm here.
Yes.
And this is the photo they take.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Christ, what the crap did I do wrong?
Right.
Like, am I not paying attention? Is it me? Probably, but like, I always laugh when I scroll through NPC. I'm like, I look retarded. There's like usually one when I'm in the pose, and the rest of them I'm like slightly out of it.
Agreed. Right, and then it makes you look out of shape when you're not fully, shortened and hitting it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to the topic at hand, and that is training splits. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the differences or the pros and cons of push-pull legs, which is the hottest item right now, versus what I'll consider is the all-time bro split, or what Fueg calls pro split, which is 1 to 2 body parts per day. So I guess I'll just start with a little bit of like simple education. Push-pull legs is going to be back, traps, abs, biceps. Push will be chest, shoulders, triceps. Some people will throw rear delts with pull and then do front and side delts with push. And then obviously legs is everything below the waist.
We're weirdos and we basically just do rear delts with push. But
yes. Yeah. I know.
It feels better.
So I'll start here. I made a very successful YouTube video where I just shit on push-pull legs for 15 minutes because in my mind, most people don't have good arms. Or if you're a bodybuilder, you can almost never have too big of arms. Has anyone ever said to Nick Walker, Roy Winkler, Phil Heath, Lee Priest, man, your arms are too big. Stop it. No. So in my mind, like if I think about you, your arms are good, but you still need, I still program you an arm day every week.
Yeah.
And that's because your arms cannot be too big as a bodybuilder. You could argue classic. Maybe you want to save a little bit of that.
Did you see Roman's arms at classic? His forearms are bigger than half the bikini, bikini girls' quads.
Yeah.
His forearm.
Yeah. Yep. So, I mean, it's one of those things like with me too, like if I'm thinking about the course of a session, I don't like that many body parts at once. Like 3, maybe 4 is just like I'm starting to get overwhelmed brain-wise, which is why when people ask me about fortitude training or like the original Dante split where it's like upper, lower, or total body, it's too freaking overwhelming for me. Like,
well, the thing what most people get wrong with Dante's split is they do too much.
Yeah.
It is upper lower, but you're talking 3 exercises.
Right.
Not 7.
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
And that will work. You can put on a lot of muscle that way. But you also remember I feel like most people, this goes right over people's heads, right? His original split is for people who've been training a minute. It's not for beginners.
Right.
But it's also for people who need to put on size.
Yes.
And then when he coached people who had size, Dusty Hanshaw, Justin Harris, their split changed drastically.
Yeah.
He turned it into a body part split.
Correct. Yeah.
Why?
These are holes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that you need to have the clay before you can sculpt. But once you have the clay, you got to sculpt it.
Right.
So it's like if you're 140 pounds soaking wet, do push-pull legs, probably do an arm day too. especially if you're bodybuilding. And if your arms suck, definitely do an arm day.
Yeah.
But like, your goal is never like that drives me up a wall. Like I think I ranted about this before, but if you're an NPC competitor, you don't have weak points because everything's a weak point.
Agreed.
You know, so stop focusing on your tibialis, you know, because get it bigger. Like obviously that was a stupid remark, but you know,
no, I've had dudes with small legs tell me I have to grow VMO. No, your whole leg has to grow, bro.
Yeah, everything.
Right.
You need hamstrings, adductors, all sides of the quad.
Right.
You know,
calves. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like it's that. You know, I think Luke Sandell said that, right? Right. You're using a scalpel when those dudes need a jackhammer. Like,
yeah.
And I mean, if you think about like, let's say you did a push-pull legs, right? Like as a beginner or even intermediate, like you could do 2 exercises per body part technically and be more than adequate. So, you know, like, so let's say I'm going to do back. I do a row and a pull down or a pull up. I do a rear delt exercise, 1 or 2 bicep and then 1 ab, and you're out of there, right? Or if you're doing chest, shoulders, triceps, like a press, I'd probably do 2 press, a shoulder press and a rear lateral, and then I'd probably, or a side lateral, and then I'd probably do a skull crusher of some sort and a dip. Call it a day, you know, like, and then legs, you're thinking a leg curl, a hip hinge, and then I'm probably going to do a leg press and a squat, and then 1 calf. Done.
Yeah.
Now, and then I'll say this, like, so if you take that as your base for someone who's a beginner intermediate, because you know what they're going to tell us, right? I got to train more, Chris. 3 days a week ain't enough for me. Then you put an arm day in there, and that's an active recovery day.
Yep.
Right? So you're going 4 days a week doing push, pull, legs, arms, repeat. And honestly, like that would probably be a very good split for the first 5 years of training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And then once you start getting, I mean, 5 years of hard training, and let's say that 2/3 of that is natural, you should probably be what, 50 to 60 pounds heavier if you're eating enough food. And then we can start to assess your physique as a whole and be like, okay, now like you probably should do 2 back days, or hey, you should probably start really focusing on upper chest movements, or man, your hamstrings are really lagging. We should attack those a couple times a week. That's kind of my thoughts. Like when you're approaching the topic of like the right split to choose. And I think, you know, you and I texted you about this today. I think the idea and topic of training split is way sexier than it needs to be. It's like everyone wants to think that there's some like gold mine secret that we're sitting on, when in the grand scheme of life, I do the mountain dog split plus a back day.
Yeah.
That's 5 days. And if I only train 4 days, I cut that pump back day.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. Like, and I might go through periods of time where I'll like cycle off a back and I do 2 leg days, or I might do a little bit extra chest. Like, but for the most part, I'm going to do 4 or 5 days, the mountain dog base, which is back and abs, chest and shoulders, legs and arms. And then I'll just throw a pump day, I'm going to say pump day in, where I'm just trying to flush blood and not kill myself. I mean, that's kind of how I look at training splits as a whole. Do you have any like hard stance on things you like or don't like?
Honestly, with programming for some clients, I will program in a regular day and a pump day. I just don't tell them which one's which. Because I'm forcing more rest into that second day.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that like instead of them driving themselves in the ground 3 days a week, drive, hit hard, back off, hit hard, you know, and kind of rotate it that way. Just so you got that, you're managing fatigue a little bit better. Because like there's some like, well, it's funny because you get some guys who will just, they know how to floor it. Like I'm one of these guys. I have no idea what 80% is. No. So like that's why we just took a week off, because I don't know how to deload. No. You can ask my training partner Zach. He'll tell you if we do a deload, it just means I'll pick up a lighter dumbbell and take it to failure. But
your last leg day before North Americans was harder than most people's leg day, period.
Yeah.
All season. Like I was watching that set and I was like, stop, please stop, please stop. And that was at like 4 or 5 reps when you still had in the tank.
Yeah. I left one, or at least one in the tank.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You didn't shake and then collapse. You definitely completed it, but that last one was a grind.
Yeah. Yeah,
Listen,
so
man.
I could have gone. I know I could have gone down with it one more time. I may
Yes.
have needed help on the way up, but I was like, ah.
Right. Right. I mean, listen, that's really strategic and smart. So if you think about the way I set your split up, like
Yeah,
we pair chest and back day back to back, which I view as like pretty damn challenging. Then you get an
yeah,
alternate. Then I typically pair legs and arms together. So legs is harder, arms is easier. Sometimes you'll have legs rest, arms rest, or you'll have legs rest, arms back.
mhm,
So if you think about that, it's very similarly set up, right? Because I have to be smart around what goes before and after your leg day because I know
yep,
how neurologically demanding that's going to be on you. And that's something
yep,
that whole last all season leading into North Americans that we really wanted to focus on. Like we wanted your lower body thicker from all angles, front, back, and side. And we
mhm,
achieved that. And I believe that's because of how we strategically set your split up all off season so that, I think a lot of people just program it not intelligently. They'll do like hard back and then try to do hard legs, or they'll do
yeah,
heavy ass chest pressing and then do leg. I'm like, no, no, no. If you want to bring a body part up, you have to be strategic about what goes around it.
yeah,
But if you notice what I'm saying there, you've been with me now for 7 years at this point. We weren't
yep.
this fine tooth comb when you were 150. Like
No,
I was like, John Meadows split, go. Update me again.
exactly.
Update me again in 3 days. Like,
Hmm.
like it wasn't that much forethought because I said, listen, you have 5 years of work before we start really digging into your physique.
Yeah,
And most people don't want to hear that shit because it's not sexy, right? Like
yeah,
they want you to say, well, this is small and this is small. And as you said in the beginning, everything is small. We
yeah,
must fix
yeah.
everything.
Go. Like I said, I got a chance to go see Crizzo and Hassan in live in person in training, and it's like lots to work on, Dave.
Right. Yeah. As soon as you feel good about yourself, you go stand beside one of those motherfuckers, and it's like, oh, okay. I am not sniffing where I need to be.
Oh,
Like,
exactly.
or I think here's what's interesting, right? You go stand beside one of them who are retired. I do that with John. I get beside John, and I'm like, this is you downsize on 2 meals and TRT. Like, how? Or you just said, we were talking before this that you ran into Phil Heath, and you're still huge,
Yeah.
retired. I guarantee you, if you and I saw Flex Lewis, we'd be like, good fucking God, bro. This is you downsized? Like, man, we
Yeah,
got
no
more
doubt.
meals and more training to do.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think as a whole, what our recommendation is going to be is stop obsessing about what is best and just get after it. And then
Mhm.
if you start finding that like after 6 months or a year, certain body parts are growing at different rates, which we all have that.
Or certain exercises don't flow the same way.
Correct. Yeah, because as you grow or mobility changes or your weight shifts change, certain things may not feel good to you anymore. I mean, you're one of the few guys that I work with who is pretty balanced head to toe. That for the most part, like we just do a rotation of 4 days for you.
Hmm.
Now there's obviously areas you and I want to like really accentuate.
Hmm.
Um, but for the most part, you flow really, really well, which is good. Like that's what we want. So if you do start to notice holes or muscles that develop fast in others, like for me, I'll be really specific. My shoulders and hamstrings just take off. End of story. They will grow and grow and grow and grow. If I trained them with reckless abandon and as much volume and frequency as I did my other body parts, it would be even more ridiculously out of proportion. I know that I can't do that
Yeah.
at this point of my career, right? Like, so, like to me, I look at my physique and it's like arms, chest, back. Those have to be better. And in this all season, as I was telling you the other day, I was like, I need my VMO bigger to match my sweep. Like, but I'm 39 fucking years old. Like, and I've been in this for almost 19 years, like training as a bodybuilder. So it's like, yes, that's when you kind of get out those like pictures and really assess them and say, this is need to be fixed, right?
Yeah. 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 It's one of those things. It's as you up and coming, you kind of just need to find whatever program you like and you're able to stick to and recover from.
Yes.
Those three things. If one of those three things is not in place, if you don't like doing it, you can't recover from it,
Yep.
and you can't continue to do it,
Yep.
find a different program.
Agreed.
Because it does not matter what it is at that point. If one of those three things is not in place, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Agreed.
If it's the best program on earth, either one of us wrote the most, crazy ass program. It's 9 pages long. It has 48 citations. Right. And you absolutely hate fucking doing it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna put effort in it.
No, I'm good.
Nope. And then back to that too. If it's crazy as hell, and you also happen to be, super active job, we're rotating shifts.
Yep.
It's like, if you can't recover from it, don't beat yourself into a fucking hole with it.
Correct.
I mean, you definitely can.
Yep.
But like, if your goal is to build muscle, like, at that point, you're gonna have to take a step back and be like, okay, what can I recover from?
Yep.
If 5 days a day a week, 5 day a week training isn't going to cover it, can I do it with 3?
Right.
Maybe. Right. Instead of being like, because you're gonna have to find a way to fit that your bodybuilding into your life.
Yes.
Or how that goes there.
Mm-hmm.
But those 3 things have to be in play, and if does not matter what the split is after that.
No. All right, so I'll talk very candidly about Mountain Dog training, because I get questions about it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Chris, are you married to it? Absolutely not. You've trained with me. You've done a lot of Mountain Dog programming. When you train with me, it's a mixture of my shit, his shit, and everything else I've learned in bodybuilding, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's a hodgepodge of shit is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to speak very candidly and open, every time John came out with a new program, I demoed it. I was one of the first people to try it. And 2 specifically, I can remember, Taskmaster and Onslaught. Onslaught, I was a dumb shit and thought I could do it without following the RPE chart, and it drove me into the ground. I couldn't recover from it, and my dumb meathead was like, just keep showing up, bro. And I wasted 12 weeks. Okay. Well, not really 12, probably more like 8, but dumb.
I did the same thing with Onslaught too, actually.
By the end, I didn't even want to train anymore. I was like, fuck, I need a break.
Yeah, that's very true. The end, I'm just broken.
Right. And then Taskmaster. What I learned from Taskmaster is, if you want to do that properly, the body part you're focusing on, the rest of them you have to throttle down.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? When you're focusing on back, I'm not going to take it easy on legs. He'd have me 4 exercises. And in my mind, I thought, man, I only have 4 opportunities for my legs to grow. I got a hammer. Like, I got to go stupid. Well, then by the time I'd hit back for the 3rd time that week, I was toast. So it's like, what I realized, like, mentality wise, how I like to train, as much as I love John and his training programs and believed a lot of the same principles he does, I'm not made for high frequency training. Like, I don't possess the ability when I walk in that gym to say it's a back block. That means chest and shoulders, arms and legs are going to be at half speed. I don't have that. I don't want that. I don't like it. That wouldn't even be fun, because to me, like, fuck it. I'd rather just go train back 3 times a week and take 4 rest days, if that's what we're going to do. Yeah. Like,
that'd be easier for me too. I have the hardest time when it comes to throttling back on something.
Yep.
Because it's like, first off, I have the hardest time finding that point of where I'm either going to go home feeling like I didn't do my best, right, and that's going to eat me alive inside.
Yep.
Or I'm going to take that set to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
In my mind. Right.
Yeah.
And like, there's definitely points where it probably would be a good idea, but it's just like, I'm with you. I don't like doing that.
No, it's not fun. Like,
yeah.
And then, okay, so then on the flip side of that, I get questions all the time about, hey, I can't do John Meadows' program and do progressive overload, which I would agree for the most part, because the exercises are so variable and change. So can I tell you how I problem solve that with clients? You do week 1 6 times in a row. And then you go to week 2, 6 weeks in a row. So you can draw a 10-week program out for 60 weeks if you want to do it that way. And then every week you can still go in there and beat your logbook. I just had a conversation with a guy about that last week, and he was like, that's genius. And I'm like, you can take that same workout and beat the logbook for 4 to 6 weeks. The moment you don't beat it, go to the next week. And he was like, I've never even considered that. I'm like, yeah, like, just because he wrote it like weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, you can repeat weeks. Like, I've had times where I had such a good week on a program of his that I just simply repeated it because it was so much fun. And again, that goes back to that is probably light years the way ahead of way people think about things, because they're so like I must follow it to the letter.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's what I don't like programming day splits.
right. Yeah,
Like I'll even program out like I'll send over like a 12-day split, and they're like, well, what do I do on Monday? I was like, well, depends.
you're right.
You know, like it's I got like 12 days lined up for you with your rest days already in there. And it's like you get to the end of that and you're like, okay, cool. You just repeat that and you're like, it's almost 2 weeks. So it's just like it slightly changes. So like, but like it's pretty funny because it's just like that people are like, well, what don't we do chest on Mondays? It's like, well, I hate that because
Yeah,
it means you won't take a rest day.
correct. Because it's Monday,
If
you
you're
have to train.
Yeah, if you're like me, you will not take a rest day.
Yeah,
Because if a day has a training day, it's just like, okay, cool, this has to happen. I
right.
could have been hit by a car and I'd be like, okay, cool. I'm going into hit chest because today's Monday.
Right.
Versus like now where everything rotates, it's like, okay, if I'm not feeling 100%, let's
Right.
think about the rest day, you
Yeah,
know? And it's just a novel concept of it. Now it doesn't have a day attached to it. Because
correct.
when there's that day attached to it mentally, you get more locked in. Which,
Yep.
I mean, if your problem is not going to the gym consistently, cool, do that. But like most of us in bodybuilding, that's not our problem.
No, no, because 9 out of 10, you can find a way to get there
Yeah.
mentally. Is it best for you? Probably not. Like, that's what I think would be really interesting if people looked at how like you and I approach when we train together, right? We'll be like, what do you want to train together? We'll be like legs, chest, and back. Cool. All right. And then we'll just work off of that. So, okay, Thursday we'll do legs, then we'll do this on Friday, then on Saturday. And then you and I will build the rest of our week around that 3 sessions together, right? And usually
Mhm.
our travel days are off days. So we're there fresh, right? We're not going to go fly to Pittsburgh and then train legs that night. Like, you and I just aren't that dumb. We're gonna do
Yeah.
grocery shopping. We're gonna get settled. We're gonna prepare food, and we're gonna chill. And then the next day, we're gonna do our normal routine,
Mhm.
which I think would fuck a lot of people's heads. Like, well, it's like you said, it's Thursday. I gotta train legs. It's leg day. Well, what if you rested Thursday and did them Friday when you were ready for it? Like, it it almost blows people's mind when they say, "Oh, well, you don't have to do it on this day." Fuck no, you don't have to do it in any day. You could take 3 days off in a row and then train 4 days in a row if you wanted to. Like, it's just when you present that idea of like 2 on 1 off or 2 on 1 on 1 off, like it's it's really kind of mind blowing because everyone wants that set schedule, right? Monday is
Yeah.
back, Tuesday is chest shoulders, Wednesday is off, legs is Thursday, your pump days on Friday, arms are on Saturday, off day on Sunday, repeat.
Yeah.
But it's pretty on paper.
Mhm.
And I realized that like maybe not everyone has you and I's personality where it's more like free flowing and intuitive, where they
Mhm.
need to be like, I'm type A, I'm structured, like, but I always find that those people typically like put a governor on themselves because they don't allow for free flow and the listening to like the because listen, our bodies tell us. I don't and I think that's also a problem that we probably need to explore, touch on is like you and I know that from years of fucking up. You,
Mhm.
you only learn that by going past your limit, right? And they were like, man, we probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Like both of us when we did onslaught.
Yes.
It took us 12 weeks to figure we were beating the shit out of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, so great example. We're in pros gym, and I look at you and go, should we do another set of arms? And I'm like, I think I'm good. You're like, no, I'm good. I'm like, okay, we're good. A 10 year ago, you and I there would have done 1 or 2 more sets.
Oh yeah.
But
100%.
if you look at those fucking photos of us in that basement, man, our arms didn't need one singular more rep.
Yeah. There's no more blood what's going in those.
No, we were just eating into carbohydrate reserves at that point, right? Like
Mhm.
it's, and I think like so many would have been like, well, you guys only did 2 rotations at the last try set. What's the third one? Like, the third one wasn't needed. Like we were done. And as you said a couple podcasts ago, we could have probably went upstairs, done cardio, and posed after the first rotation of 3.
Mhm.
But we're a little too stubborn for that.
Yep.
So, I think if we leave you guys tonight with anything, is there is no perfect split. The split is the one that you love, can stick to, and you're growing off of, and not getting injured. and you're having fun at and you're progressing with. Like, and that's why I think a lot of times like having training partners can be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It is like, oh, well, we talked about doing legs tomorrow, but I really need an off day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you and I train together, I really feel like our bodies would align rest days wise. And you'd be like,
Yeah.
bro, I think I need an off day. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I thought the same thing when I got up.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've texted Zach and been like, hey, I'm pretty fucked up today.
Right.
He's like, oh, good. Because,
right. I mean, so I'm sure you remember that last time you were in Roanoke with me and we hit newbie legs on Friday and then we hit arms. Like, I feel like you and I could have taken that day, Saturday off. Like, now we still had a good session, but in a perfect world, we'd have taken Saturday off and hit arms on Sunday, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So
that is true.
I think that's it, man. Any final thoughts from your end?
No, that covered basically everything.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. All right, guys, episode 6, push pull legs versus bro split. The answer is do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, real answer right there.
Yeah.